If you're male, you've probably been brought up to deny any fear you might have under the false belief that courage is the absence of fear. This is what makes David such an excellent model for courage. He was a mighty, courageous, and successful warrior, and a confident king. And yet David wrote intensely about his fears. This evidences a fact that all men should learn, that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in its presence. What do you fear? Most of us don't fear death in battle, although we do have some soldiers among us who could teach us a few things about the palpability of David's fears. On the other hand, I venture to say that most people fear rejection by others, especially those close to them. They fear looking stupid in front of other people. Although despairing for food and clothing would be relatively rare in our society, many of us have fear of losing a job or a home, or have other financial fears. Those with severe medical problems may fear losing their life to the next infection or blood clot or cancer. Eventually, we'll all face the fear of losing a loved one and of our own life also. Life presents us with no shortage of fearsome prospects. There are fears that can grip any of us, but there are right and wrong ways to deal with fear. In a recent memory verse, we learned the following: "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Jesus Christ." So prayer is an appropriate way of responding to fear, and when coupled with faith, it will allow us to experience the peace of Christ as we face our fears. While others might wring their hands, paralyzed by the specter of some daunting event, those with faith will turn to God like David did. Praying our fears out to God helps us to see what we fear is finite in contrast to an infinite and infinitely powerful being. Even if God doesn't take away those things we fear, He helps us to put them back into an eternal perspective. The knowledge that God is with us, to the point of being in us, gives us the courage to face whatever might come our way, knowing that we don't face those fears alone, but rather with the divine presence of one who's bigger than our fears. I love the prayer that I've seen on placards: "Lord, help me to remember that nothing will happen today that you and I together can't handle." Or, as the scripture says, God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. Pray your fears and fortify your faith, and the Lord who is in us will give us peace, power, love, and self-control in the face of those fears.